we all rise, please, for the council prayer? Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Here.
Councilor Lenzi.
Here.
Councilor Martin. Councilor Armin Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Mayor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Elliott.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
The chair would like to recognize Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in Docking Chamber for Mary Keefe, the beloved wife of John, Jack Keefe, with whom she recently celebrated 53 years of marriage. Mary resided in the Centerville section of Lowell on Christian Hill. Prior to her retirement, she was employed as a secretary for the Massachusetts Office of Business Development. For many years, along with her husband, Jack, she produced and assisted with the direction of several variety shows, including the St. Michael's CYO, the St. Patrick's Cultural Week show, and recently the Franco-American Week celebration shows, the latter of which Councilor Armin Mercier and I were delighted to participate in together under Mary and Jack's direction. Surviving her besides her husband Jack are 2 sons, John Jr. and David Keefe, a music teacher for many years in the Lowell school system, as well as a granddaughter, Jessica Keefe, and her godchild, Beth Ann Keefe. We offer our sympathies to the family. She will be truly missed. Thank you.
And if the mayor, if I may say something, that Mary Keefe was a dear friend, her husband, John. They put on many, many variety shows. They brought smiles to people's faces, brought entertainment to the city, and they raised thousands of dollars for schools and churches and youth organizations. Mary was just a wonderful, wonderful person. Councilor Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Laurie King, who died on July 10th, 2009 from injuries suffered in an automobile accident at the age of 50. She was born on July 21st, 1958, the daughter of Norma L. Robitaille King and the late William R. King. Laurie graduated from Notre Dame Academy in Tingsboro and then attended the University of Miami in Florida, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. She'll be dearly missed by her family and friends. Also, a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Catherine Nora Ahern, a longtime Belvedere resident, loving mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, who died on Thursday, June 25th. She will also be dearly missed by her family and friends. And a moment of silence and darken the chambers for Cecilia M. Abraham, RN, died on July 29th at the age of 89. She was the wife of the late James John Abraham, and she will also be dearly missed by her family and friends.
Thank you. Councilor Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for 3 veterans who passed away since our last meeting. First, Robert Gallant, a lifelong Lowell resident, a U.S. Navy veteran of World War II. He was a coach in the Highland Little League, survived by his wife, Dorothy, 6 daughters and 2 sons, including Priscilla Chaput and Charlene Romano of Lowell, 27 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren. Also for Herbert Gordon, longtime South Lowell resident, U.S. Army during the Korean conflict. His wife Lucy predeceased him. He is survived by a son and a daughter, including Lila Laurie of Lowell. And also for John Daly, a lifelong Lowell resident, longtime employee of Jarvis Lincoln Mercury. He was the widower of Maureen Flynn Daly, survived by a daughter, Kristen, and a granddaughter, Kylie, also of Lowell. Thank you.
And may we also include all those Lowell residents who passed away since our last council meeting. Can we all rise for a moment of silence, please? May they rest in peace. Thank you. Moving on with the agenda. For me, this is the nicest part of the meeting when we have guests into our chambers and we offer them a citation or a proclamation, and deservingly so. They have worked hard for their own cause and other causes of other people and organizations. And the first proclamation I'd like to present is to a woman who needs no recognition. She's loved and adored by every member of the council, the Lynch administration, but more importantly, the patients that this woman serves over the course of a year. And that's Doris Griggs Sato. And Dorcas, I'd like to present this proclamation, and it reads, by His Honor Edward C. Caulfield, a proclamation, whereas from August 9th through the 15th, our nation will celebrate the 2009 National Health Center Week. This year's theme is Where Access and Quality Care Begin, recognizing this vital role that local community health centers play in serving the health care needs of all individuals, regardless of their financial status. And whereas each year National Health Center Week provides us with the opportunity to highlight the incredible impact of the Lowell Community Health Center, which now serves as a family doctor for an outstanding 32,000 users, or 1 in 3 Lowell residents. And this year, we want to applaud to the health center on its recent success in acquiring over $1.2 million in federal stimulus funding to support its expansion project at 26 Jackson Street, and in addition to the talented and committed healthcare heroes who serve patients at the health center each day. We salute the outstanding dedication and commitment of Lowell Community Health Center, 290 plus employees who provide quality care you can afford. Now therefore, I, Edward C. Caulfield, Mayor of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim the week of August 9th through the 15th, 2009 as National Health Center Week, and urge all citizens to recognize the important contributions of the Lowell Community Health Center given this 11th day of August, the year 2009, by Mayor Caulfield, the entire City Council, Mayor Lynch and his administration, and the residents of this great city. Dorcas, you deserve a round of applause.
Good evening. I'm Dorcas Griggs Saito, CEO of Lowell Community Health Center, and I'm joined by Maura Smith, our Director of External Relations and Development, and Lynn Faust, who you will hear more about later. I want to thank Mayor Caulfield and the City Council for this special recognition of National Health Center Week. Last year, when I came before the council, I announced the incredible growth that we've experienced at the health center in recent years. And tonight, as was mentioned in the proclamation, I'd like to inform you that last year we served over 32,000 individuals, or almost 30% of Lowell's entire population. We remain very proud that 1 in 3 Lowell residents now choose Lowell Community Health Center as their primary care provider. As you know, all of this growth means that our outdated facilities are literally bursting at the seams. So I'm very pleased to say that we continue to make progress towards moving all of our operations to a much expanded facility in the Hamilton Crossing project on Jackson Street, across from the Early Garage. Despite the economic downturn, we have received very positive response from potential lenders, including those who can provide such creative financing mechanisms as new market tax credits. In addition, the health center has received over $1.2 million in economic stimulus funding from the federal government to help us to increase our current services. And just last week, we submitted an application requesting just over $9 million for the project. So keep all of your fingers crossed. This amount of money, if we are to receive it, would fund about 30% of our total project cost. On Thursday, as part of National Health Center Week, we are having a luncheon at the Lowell Senior Center to honor community partners with awards, and we hope that city councilors and employees will be there. This year, we're fortunate to have Congresswoman Nikki Tsongas joining us as our keynote speaker. As CEO of Lowell Community Health Center, I'm so very proud of our staff, and several of our staff are here with some people you can tell are not our staff, who maybe will be in the future and here. And I want to join you in congratulating Lynn Faust tonight for her recent statewide recognition as a Community Health Center Employee of the Year. Lynn not only exemplifies the incredible passion, dedication, and commitment of those who choose to serve in community health, she goes above and beyond every day to serve our city's most vulnerable residents. So on behalf of the health center's 290 employees and our 32,000 patients, I want to thank you for your continued support and for this very special recognition this evening. I'm honored to accept the proclamation on their behalf. Thank you. And
Thank you,
I'll bring
Dorcas.
Lynn up to the podium.
And I do have a citation for Lynn Faust, and it reads, and congratulations, Lynn.
Thank you.
Be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby honors Lynn A. Faust for achieving the Community Health Center Employee of the Year, bestowed by the Lowell Community Health Center. Lynn has dedicated herself to enhancing the quality of life for all who live in the Greater Lowell and has worked for over 19 years at the health center as a highly skilled and selfless nurse practitioner specializing in women's health. Lynn exemplifies what it takes to be committed and compassionate practitioner and is dedicated to the health center and her colleagues. The entire city expresses its sincere congratulations to Lynn for being so instrumental in the community. The entire city of Lowell extends its deepest wishes to Lynn for continued success. Given this 11th day of August, the year 2009, by Mayor Caulfield, the entire city council, the Lynch administration. But Lynn, I just want to say that you're the type of person who never walks on the stage, never takes a bow, you're never in a spotlight, but you're servicing many, many people, and they applaud you for that every day. Congratulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I could say
Yes.
something about Lynn Faust
Council
personally.
Messi, yes.
I know that people get awards, and sometimes we agree that they do a tremendous job, but I know firsthand of her dedication. For many years ago, one of my sons was 10 years old, and he was severely injured by a drunk driver, and with the chance that they would amputate his leg, and he had to learn how to walk all over again, and he couldn't do much for himself, and we spent months and months at the hospital in rehabilitation. And sometimes when you get older, you think about your favorite teacher or a person that made an impact in your life. This woman has made an impact on not only my life, but my son's life, who was 10 years old, that knew the dedication of a nurse that not only took care of him by, helping him to walk again, but also took the time to wash his hair, his simple things, and talking to him. And I know firsthand of the dedication of this woman, and she deserves this award, and I'm very moved by the fact that she's getting it, because I know that there are people that we, applaud every day, but we don't know firsthand the way that I know this. And so I want to publicly thank her, because she was destined to be in this profession. She must have made such an impact on our family, and I'm sure many others. So thank you, Lynn, for
Thank you,
all that
Lynn.
you do for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last citation, I had the pleasure of visiting a fabulous market in downtown Lowell on Market Street. And I was so taken back by the proprietors and the food, the produce that they offered. It was the greatest hot salami I ever had. I bought some salami and some cheese. It was delightful. And the store was delightful. And the people who own the store are delightful. And this is a citation and wishing you well with your new business. And be it hereby known to all that the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts hereby welcomes Market Street Market and its owners, Robert and Janet Nason, as a new business to make its home in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts. The city is honored that Robert and Janet chose 95 Market Street as a location for their European-style grocery store, which will offer prepared foods, fresh produce, and dairy. The City of Lowell commends the dedication of Market Street Market and its owners for investing in Lowell. The entire City of Lowell extends its deepest wishes to Robert and Janet and its employees of the Market Street Market for continued success, given this 11th day of August in the year 2009 by Mayor Caulfield, the entire City Council, the Lynch administration, and I must add, the most fabulous bread I've ever had. So give a round of applause to this wonderful one.
Thank you so much. Well, I will say that we do offer, Mr. Kazanjian, you must come in and get some Armenian lamajun and baklava. We have many Armenian-type foods as well as European. We have wonderful help right now in the kitchen serving delicious food from restaurants like Fortunato's and Centro. So we have a great staff, and we're very fortunate. And the city has been wonderful, really, really wonderful, and we're so appreciative that they've supported us the way they have. Thank you.
Good luck. And now I'd like to bring to the podium representatives of the Renaissance Club to speak about Blues in the Night and their fundraiser for housing. If you come forward, 5 minutes or less.
How many?
5 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Caulfield, City Council. On Friday, August 28th, 2009, from 7 o'clock to 11 o'clock, we are having our first annual Blues in the Night fundraiser at the Palin City Restaurant in Branch Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. The featured band is the Jinx Brothers, plus we're also having a female comedian, and we're also going to have a live DJ. We're going to have dinner and dancing, a sit-down dinner, and we're also going to have a silent auction. To tell us about the silent auction prizes, I give you to my associate, Erica Cooley.
Thank you, Mr. Athia. He introduces me everywhere I go. It's fabulous. The best silent auction prizes are a weekend getaway at the Kripalu Yoga Center, a $200 gift certificate for tattoo at Lowell Inc., a gift certificate for Target, a gift certificate for Hannaford's, 2 novels signed by local authors, a Day of Beauty, a $100 gift certificate for Bob's Furniture, a Red Sox baseball signed by Jed Lowry, a Celtics basketball signed by Bill Walker, a Celtics photograph of Leon Poe, and it is signed, a Boston Bruins hockey puck signed by Marco Sturm, and a Lowell Devils basket of memorabilia. It is absolutely fabulous. You should really attend. I'd like to thank you all.
You're welcome.
Mr. Athia?
Also, we're working on other fundraisers coming up for our Renaissance Club. The next one coming up in October. We're going to be working on education. Right now, it's pending what we're doing right now, but we're going to have an October fundraiser. Also, this Blues in the Night fundraiser is very good. We've got a lot of good Proceeds are going to housing. We have a new housing program here at Renaissance Club. I'm very interested in this fundraiser because I have the seal of approval because I'm not just the chairman, but Erica Cooley works really hard for this fundraiser.
Bob, could you give us the date one more time so we keep it fresh in everyone's memory?
Sure.
What is the date?
Friday, August 28th.
Tickets are $25.
The tickets are Friday, August 28th, 2009, 7 to 11. Tickets are $25, and it's a good cause. Tickets are $25, and
Tables are $250.
tables are $250.
And where will it be held?
Palin City Restaurant
Okay.
in Branch Street
Okay.
in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay. Thank you for being here and good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on with the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting by Council Rita Mercer, second by Council Milonazo. Any objections? If none, the minutes have been accepted and placed on file. Communications from Manager Lynch. Any questions? Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have actually two comments this evening. One regarding the letter from the city manager on the impact of Verizon layoffs in the city of Lowell. This is something that I had brought up a couple of weeks ago, and we do have it in our packet. And it looks like at the present time they're proceeding with voluntary separations as opposed to resorting to layoffs. So according to the letter, and I appreciate the letter, Mr. Manager, they'll be continuing to work with the city to try to sustain employment for the Lowell workers. So I appreciate that in the form of an update. The second thing, if I could, it's actually in response to Councilor Kazanjian's motion regarding the Hamilton Canal development, requesting that both the Neighborhood Subcommittee and the Economic Development Subcommittee meet regularly. There's information in our packet, quite lengthy. Also, as you all know, there's a vote tonight, an important vote as well regarding some transfer of funds as it relates to the Hamilton Canal. I just want to, again, make sure that I understood from the last meeting, and I did get a notice from the clerk about sending this to the two subcommittees, that we're going to wait until September. We're going to wait until September so that the viewing audience and the maker of the motion knows that we will be dealing with this the first meeting in September. And again, there's a lot of good information here. I guess I would encourage the administration to put this up on the Hamilton Canal website in order to make sure that the public is kept apprised as to what actually is going on. So it's a good document.
Well, Councilor, thank you for bringing this attention to this piece of communication. As I think we all agree, the Hamilton Canal project is certainly the most significant development project that the city has going at the current time, and arguably is the most important development project that it's had for decades and maybe in its entire history, short of the forming of the city back in the early to mid 1800s. As you can see, quite a bit has been done, as you've pointed out, that is moving the project forward. I'm also aware that there were a number of investors that were related to the project, that are associated with the project, that were in the city today, walking the site, very enthusiastic about the project, and so we're anticipating that this project will be able to really commence in earnest in the very near future as they work through those issues, as well as some of the other infrastructure issues that have to be dealt with. But it's certainly good news for the city, and again, I appreciate you bringing attention to this piece of communication.
Thank you.
Councilor Kazanjian? I'm sorry, Councilor.
That's all right.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we did get a lot of information that's going to hold us over to September. I think we all agreed that we're going to have our first subcommittee meeting in September, and the reason being, number one, we'll get a lot of information, but the public itself at a public meeting, as televised, will get a lot of information. You know, it's the biggest project the city's had in its history, and I think it'll be good to get that out there, not even for ourselves, for the people out there also. Thanks.
Councilor Mercier?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know in our packet came something very important that the manager will be doing on Thursday which will be concentrating neighborhood impact resources in a particular neighborhood of Centerville. That'll be Thursday, August 13th at 6 o'clock at Moulton Square. I think that's a good thing to resume that. Many years ago, former city manager Brian Martin had the Managers Impact Team. This shouldn't be let go, and you're reviving it again, so that's a good thing, and I want to thank you and compliment you for that, because it is important to, every so often, to target neighborhoods and step up the pace and use all our resources to make an impact in certain areas, and I think that's something we should do, and you're doing it, so that's a good
Manager
thing.
Lynch?
Well, thank you, Councilor, for putting a plug in for this event, and I understand you said very complimentary things on the radio the other day, and I appreciate that as well regarding
Not
this
such
project.
a bad guy.
I know. Ever since we danced at Folk Festival, things
I know.
have really changed between us, so that's great. No, I think that, I do think that the neighborhood impact team that Manager Martin put in place, and I know that Manager Cox continued that on, and we've continued that on the smaller scale, and the one point I'd make about this program is it really builds upon that to focus a larger amount of resources over a longer period of time within a neighborhood. So I think that your point is well taken, that this is the idea of really targeting resources to make a difference is very important to try to really make an impact in a neighborhood, and that's what this is planning to do. And I know that all of the other neighborhoods that have been associated with discussing this are very enthusiastic for Centerville, as well as their own neighborhoods as we roll this forward into the future. And even the neighborhoods that probably will never see this program hit their neighborhood, they're very enthusiastic because it's what's good for this neighborhood is good for the city, and likewise some of the other neighborhoods that will be affected. But I appreciate you bringing
Yes,
attention
I'm
to that.
excited about it. It's a good thing. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
I'd just like to weigh in a little bit on the repaving that's going on in Centerville. My office received a call yesterday about a storm drain that was caving in, so I went over there and I told Manager Lynch about it. But Mr. Manager, West 3rd, West 4th, West 5th Streets, that whole neighborhood has been neglected for decades, 40, 50 years. And when I went down West 5th Street, there's a woman standing on her front porch, and she says, for 40 years, we never had a pothole fixed here. And I'm an advocate, and I think the council is too. If you're gonna repave a street, repave the worst street first. And that's what's happening now. Those streets over there are absolutely gonna be phenomenal. And one of the constituents said, what are we gonna do now with speeders? Because there won't be any potholes for them to fall into. So, Mr. Manager, I take my hat off to you that that neighborhood is certainly elated with that work. And if we can only keep it going, I know money is all the importance, but that's what I'd like to see. It gives a spark, it gives a little bit of life into that neighborhood. And they're not gonna have hot top sidewalks. They're gonna have cement sidewalks with driveways. It's gonna be real nice, real nice. And those people now feel as though they're part of the rock, let's put it that way. And Mr. Manager, before closing, I know I should have filed a motion, but if you can give us a report, when are they gonna start renovating the waste treatment plant? I don't want to elaborate on it tonight, but just give us a report on that.
Absolutely. And thank you for the comments also about Centerville.
Let me tell you, those people, you could see it in their faces, they were just elated that someone's paying attention to their neighborhood. Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know there's not a communication, but I wanted to touch upon the budget just a little bit, Mr. Manager, as we did before the meeting, and specifically on the revenue aspect of it. And can you just give us an update? I'm sure you're following it very closely, and I want to reassure people at home that we're watching our revenues similarly to the state, where rumors that there's that revenues aren't doing as well. I don't know how true it is, but and there was an article in the local newspaper on Sunday about the meals tax, and we have, as part of this budget, there's $2 million factored into it. Doesn't seem like there is support to pass that. So, are you working on a plan, or I'm hoping you're working on a plan how to make up that deficit, if you will? And just one other question, how you came up with the $2 million. I think you explained it during the budget hearing, but I think it'd be helpful if you can give us an explanation where we got the $2 million figure.
Sure. The $2 million number was the calculation. It was actually worked off of the governor's numbers early in the budget state budget process. And then we estimated downward conservatively, and it was based upon the proposal that was circulating at that time in the governor's budget as well as in the various House and Senate versions, that there would be a local option 2% meals tax available. And so we did build the budget based upon adopting a 2% local option meals tax, and as you know, the council did approve that budget. After the council of taking the vote, after the budget was approved, the legislature and the governor modified the local option tax to, instead of being a 2% local option, it would be a 1 1/4 state increase, and they increased our local aid by roughly $1.5 million. And then there was a 0.75% local option meals tax that would provide us with about $500,000. So the 1.5 of the 2 is already in our local aid calculations.
Oh, it is.
And so what we're looking at now is a gap of about $500,000. And we did receive some, as you know, we were able to close down the snow and ice deficit substantially, and that benefited us in trying to fill that gap. But there are some negative parts of our budget as well, things that didn't quite come in, or some additional bills. For instance, we have to cover, as you know, last year, or the last several years, we've received $450,000 in earmark money through the legislative process. Our delegation's been able to get that for us for our some of our park projects. Halfway through last year, or not even halfway through, they were made some 9C cuts that cut that in half from 450 down to 225. Then in January, they made further 9C cuts or further reductions, and they froze out that full 225. So the city caught itself, we've always, Commissioner Bellegarde had always been ahead of the curve in implementing those projects so we could spend the money quickly, which is what the state always wants you to do, is take the money, spend it, and get it out. We did that. Unfortunately, they didn't live up to their part of that. We did it without getting the reimbursement, so we now have a $225,000 roughly gap that we have to fill in last year's budget because that grant money didn't come through. Things like that became obvious to us when we're in the process of closing out the books. So at the last council meeting, I believe, Councilor, you asked for a report on fiscal year 2010, and at that point we're only 3 weeks into fiscal year 2010, so it's a little difficult to give too much detail to that. But we're now going through the budget line by line and the revenue and some of the expenditure items to see what adjustments may have to be made, and we'll be presenting the council with a report on that sometime probably in doubtful will be the next council meeting, but probably early September, and we'll have to continue monitoring that until we get to the recap sheet, which comes in November. So we're developing strategies and scenarios of how we will close up that budget gap. We are watching too to see if there are further 9C cuts that take place at the state level that will affect our local aid. But of the meals tax specifically, the budget was based on $2 million of local option, but the state changed that to 1.5 increase in state aid, $500,000 local option, and so we have a $500,000 issue we're dealing with.
So between that and the other cuts, we could be looking at 750 just in those two.
Well, just in those two, right. And then I'm happy to say that there's some positive stuff too, like the snow and ice is a positive, but there are other negatives and some other positives. It goes back and forth, and
I know it seems every council meeting we ask about it, but knowing how tight this budget is, and knowing how the economy is, and just trying to stay on top of it, and I'm sure you are, but I think it's good to let us know and to let people know that you'll be coming up with some recommendations. I just had one other question. This Cash for Clunkers program that seems to have taken off, any idea how that's benefiting the city in terms of excise tax?
Oh, we don't have any numbers on that yet, right?
Okay.
No idea.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
I just want to point out that when the budget was presented and the estimate revenue from that meals tax was put in, I think a number of us has indicated that we're approving the budget, but not necessarily that part of the budget. But we were going to take that up as a separate vote, right? I mean,
It is a separate vote,
it is
right.
a separate vote.
But
okay.
the expenditure level was based on that meals
Right,
tax.
Right, but I
Yes.
mean, that didn't automatically approve that.
Oh, it didn't
meals tax.
automatically
Okay,
approve, no.
I just wanted to clarify that.
No,
that
no.
Just because we voted for that budget and that estimate was in there, that doesn't mean that we were voting for the meals tax. We were going to take that up separately.
That is a separate vote.
Okay.
It's just, what will have to happen is we'll either have to look for other revenues, or we'll have to make cuts.
Right.
And
And that might be the story on other revenue estimates, too. You take like my motion tonight about the arena. That's based on the 6 months of deficit. Well, we've got a short period of time to make sure that happens. So,
Right.
again, if that doesn't materialize, again, we have to revisit that budget.
That's right.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that
and
just
we're-
because
we're-
we approved that, we didn't really approve the meal tax.
Right. And on the arena, and not to steal the thunder from your motion, but what we're working on now is that we have to, even though we're working to implement a transfer by the end of this calendar year,
Right.
which is what the chancellor has, has indicated he's working towards. We're actually, in our budgeting of the arena operation, we're actually using the number that we have in our city budget
Right.
as the amount of money that's available to the arena for the entire year, for the entire 12 months.
Right. That's why I put the motion in, so we can get a status report on those negotiations, and what can we as councilors do more to make sure that happens by the end of the calendar year, so it doesn't have a dire effect on our budget, more than's been estimated. That takes care of that motion.
Yes, it
I'll
does.
second his motion.
Any other communications for the manager Lynch? If none, move to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Elliott. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Those communications are accepted, placed on file. We're going to enter a public hearing now, and it's on the agenda, a conduit location, Verizon, to place 54 feet of conduit in Cabot Street. Those wishing to come forward and speak in favor, please come forward to speak in favor. In favor? In favor. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition. The clerk informed me tonight that the gentleman who normally would be here is at 3 other sites trying to approve other sites. And this is extremely important.
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor Armin Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercia. Roll call.
No, it gets referred to
Refer it to the wire inspector. Refer it
Yeah.
to the wire inspector.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Now we're moving on with the agenda. We have a request for 2 out-of-state travel for Manager Lynch. Any questions on that request?
Nope.
I'll move approval.
Move approval by Council Rita Mercia, seconded by Council Bill Martin. Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian,
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager into a license agreement with Dama Buns LLC, Dama Buns Sandwich Company to encroach upon the city of Lowell property at 26A Market Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Be it voted by the city council of the city of Lowell as follows. That the city manager hereby authorized to enter into a license agreement with Dama Buns LLC, Dama Buns Sandwich Company to encroach upon the city of Lowell property, 26A Market Street, for an overhanging sign to the extent of and more particularly described in Exhibit A attached hereto, and make part of this license agreement. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Kazanjian, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. All in favor of waiving the full reading signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager to enter a license agreement with Dama Buns LLC, Dama Buns Sandwich Company, to encroach upon the City of Lowell property at 26A Market Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Any discussion or debate? Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Authorizing the city manager into a license agreement with FIDA LLC with principal offices at 8899 Beverly Boulevard, Suite 510, West Hollywood, California, 948 for use of City of Lowell property to wit outside all areas of 400 Merrimack Street and 408 Merrimack Street, including alleyways behind 400 Merrimack Street for filming and for placement of production-related equipment related to the upcoming motion picture, The Fighter. Motion to waive the full reading.
So moved.
Full reading by Council Arman Mercia, second by Council Milonazo. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The full reading has been waived. Second reading by title. Authorizing the city manager to enter a license agreement with FIDA LLC with principal offices at 8899 Beverly Boulevard, Suite 510, West Hollywood, California, zip code 948, for use of City of Lowell property to wit outside all areas of 400 Merrimack Street and 408 Merrimack Street, including alleyways behind 400 Merrimack Street for filming and for placement of production-related equipment related to the upcoming motion picture, The Fighter. I have these addresses in my head, I think, that we've read it so many times. Any debate or questions?
Nope.
Roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian.
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi.
Yes.
Councilor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Present.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield.
Yes,
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 present.
we have stars amongst the council. In the city council order to repay debt from funds that were borrowed by the city to acquire the Hamilton Canal District, ordered by the city council of the city of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $3,208,650 be transferred from the jam sale of property fund number 1701007 as more fully described in attachment A, to various accounts for the repayment of a federal section 108 loan and to be used for the repayment of municipal general obligation debt as more fully described in attachment A, second reading by title, to repay debt from funds that were borrowed by the city to acquire the Hamilton Canal District in the amount of $3,208,650. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, can you give us a breakdown as to how much was the sale of land to the Commonwealth and how much was the second sale to Trinity?
Let me, I'm going to ask Mr. Bakey to address that question.
Thank you.
Of the funds that are being transferred or being requested to be transferred this evening, 670,000 of it was for the sale of the first phase of the parcels that Trinity is going to be developing. It represents probably about 10 or 15% of the total area that they're going to be developing, probably closer to 10. And the balance of the funds being requested for transfer this evening are the first payment from the state for the trial court site, which represents about a little over 3.5 acres. There will be a subsequent payment from the state at the conclusion of the calendar year when they finish the current demolition activity. They have escrowed some funding from the original closing because the city is responsible for a portion of those demolition costs, because one of the buildings they're demolishing is not on land that the state has acquired from us. When they complete the demolition, we anticipate that the total cost will be way under what anyone originally anticipated, and therefore the city will be receiving some additional funds at that time. Additional funds payments will be made by Trinity over time as they take down additional parcels as well. This represents only about 1/10 of the total payment that Trinity is ultimately committed to for the city.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did get an overview of the economic development that's happening in that area, and one of the parts that I'm very happy about is a private company remains in active negotiations with the city and Trinity to assume control of Frudenberg, that building, and redevelop 60,000 square feet of commercial office space, so that's looking good. It takes a little bit to form that puzzle, so a little bit at a time. So I'm happy to hear that and hope it works out all right.
Any other questions pertaining? Councilor Elliott?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the city manager or Mr. Backey, when the city took control over the Freudenberg site and assembled, I think, a number of parcels of property, what was the total debt that we put out on a municipal bond? I want to say, was it 3.9 just for the purchase of those properties?
The city borrowed about $3.6 million in municipal general obligation debt for the acquisition of the Freudenberg and for some of the demolition costs at the Freudenberg property. We also borrowed $3 million through the federal Section 108 loan program, which was borrowed against our community development block grant entitlement as opposed to a municipal general obligation bond. That money leveraged $2 million worth of grant funds that came in conjunction with the Section 108 loan. With this repayment, as well as we've made a number of prior repayments of both of those loans, we will have less than $2 million in outstanding debt associated with the land assembly for the Hamilton Canal District. So we're actually making tremendous progress at getting the city back to a point where we're essentially at break even, and any additional revenue that comes in from the project is benefit to the city.
But those repayments or those payments have primarily been state and federal money, is that correct? Is this or has Trinity made other purchases or repayments of the property they're looking to acquire?
The prior repayments that we've made against the borrowing have come primarily from grant funds that the city's been able to obtain, in some cases through the hard work of our legislative delegation earmarking some funds toward the JAM project.
So approximately how much land does Trinity have left to purchase? Or you said this was about a tenth of it?
Yeah, the total property that Trinity will be purchasing from the city represents about 11 acres. And again, this is about 1/10 of that they've purchased so far.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Adam, what you're saying is the money we're receiving is going to go help pay back that 108 loan, which is...
Well, it's actually being divided about 50-50. 50% of it, 49.41% of it is being used to repay the 108 debt, and 50 point whatever percent of it is being used to repay the
We're beginning to
general
see
obligation.
dividends. We're beginning to see...
Absolutely right. And more importantly, what we're doing by repaying the debt, not that we actually have a lot of choice under the loan agreements and the state law, but what we're doing by using the funds in this way is we're actually reducing any carrying costs that the city has associated with the project.
Any other questions? If none, roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
Yes.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Raman Murcia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Murcia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Order 60-day trial in various locations pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations, are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Bill Martin. All in favor of waiving the full reading, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Full reading's been waived. Second reading by title. Pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations, Temporary Traffic Regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Any questions? Councilor Mercia, did you add something to this, didn't you?
I added 45 Abbott Street, but through the traffic engineer in the planning department said that when they took a look at it, you couldn't get a car to have a parking spot on that very narrow street. So if you see it, it's on Richmond Street, which is behind it. So if they couldn't do it in the front, they're doing it in the back. So that's what they did a great job. It's in here.
Does anyone have any questions or concerns about this? If none? Yes,
I
Councilor
don't have a concern about this, but in a related matter, a number of months ago, I think, the City Council adopted a motion to have the traffic engineer look at Dublin Street and making it into one-way from Adams to Suffolk. The city manager's office was supposedly be working on this, not supposedly, but was working on this in some way or other. It fell through the cracks. So if you just would follow up, this is a one-way, it was a request to have Dublin Street, which is very narrow,
Yeah.
to be one way from Adams to Suffolk Street. So if you would just have somebody follow up on it, that's all.
Roll call.
Counselor Kazanjian?
Yes.
Counselor Lenzi?
Yes.
Counselor Martin?
Yes.
Counselor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo? Counselor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Counselor Elliott?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Subcommittee reports. Council Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you all know, as a result of the Rules Subcommittee that met 2 weeks ago, we do have before the full council this evening a vote to strike in its entirety City Council Rule Number 5 and insert in its place thereof the following. So if I could, I know the City Clerk Johnson left a copy of this on everybody's desk, but if I could read the letter into the minutes. Dear Mayor and members of the City Council, in accordance with City Council Rule Number 33, the City Council, having received a written copy of the proposed changes and having received a report from the City Council Rules Subcommittee in favor of such a proposed rule change at the regular meeting of July 28, 2009, the committee respectfully requests the City Council take the following action. Vote to strike in its entirety City Council Rule Number 5 and insert in place thereof the following. Regular meetings of the City Council shall be held weekly on Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. in the council chamber or as otherwise designated, except when a meeting date falls on a holiday and during June, July, August, and September, when meetings shall be held on the second and fourth Tuesdays. Provided that an agenda item is not then under consideration, City Council meetings shall adjourn at or before 10:00 p.m., and all unconsidered items remaining on the agenda at adjournment be forwarded to the next regularly scheduled meeting unless otherwise voted by a majority vote of the City Council. And respectfully submitted, Councilor James Milonazo, Chairman of the City Council Rules Subcommittee. And as we all know, this was something that City Councilor Rita Mercia had requested back in March, that the Rules Committee take another look at the change that was put in place back last year. And as the letter indicates, we did that on July 28th, and we're bringing this now forward to the full council for a vote.
Adopt the recommendation brought forward by the Rules Subcommittee by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion?
I have a question. Just a technical matter on the second part of the vote about the 10 o'clock adjournment. It says all other matters forward to the next meeting unless otherwise voted by a majority. And I think in the past, if we wanted to extend past the adjournment time, that's a rule change that if two councilors object, that's defeated. So now, is this modifying that, Madam Solicitor, or is this just with respect to what you do with the pending items?
I can take a look at that narrow issue that
Yeah.
that you've raised.
I mean, I'm going to vote for this. I don't have a problem. I just have a
Right.
question if it's going to come up at some point.
Right. I met with the clerk late this afternoon and took a look at this language, and it looked fine to me at the time, but I can take a look at
Okay.
the issue that you're raising and then report back to the council once I have the original language before me.
Okay. Thank you.
In the past, you can suspend the rules and take a vote to move beyond the 10 o'clock agenda item, but, you know, that's what we were doing in the past, so.
If I could, councilors, working at that time with Assistant Solicitor Dave Fenton, when we drew this section, this paragraph of the rule, at that time we had added it in to adjourn the meetings at 11 o'clock. There was a request this time by Councilor Armin Mercia to change that back to 10 o'clock. However, I believe that your question is targeted toward what is left on the council agenda. I believe that that was the discussion at the time.
Well, to go beyond 10 o'clock, do you need 8 votes or
No,
5?
I think what it's saying is that what's remaining on the agenda be sent to the next agenda, or it could be forwarded to a further
I see.
agenda.
Okay.
Unless there is a majority vote of the city council.
Suspension of the rules, so
Well, no, no, it's not.
twice,
Positions doesn't suspend the rules.
should be.
Well, it's not. I mean, that's Robert's rules. I mean, it's,
If you move for suspension, excuse me, if you move for
I know, yeah.
Get suspended.
But
But, I mean, it's...
I've never seen that happen, you know.
But it could, depending on why you're suspending the rules.
It's happened a handful of times in my time here.
Yeah.
Not often, and certainly not on something like this, but I'd rather have the
Would you want-
answer now than at 10 o'clock some
Would you want
night.
to delay this and get...
No, I think we should vote it. I just want to get a ruling on what happens.
Right.
We shouldn't go beyond 10 o'clock anyway.
Past your bedtime, isn't it?
Everybody shuts the...
Any other discussion? I thought this was a slam dunk. Yes.
It is.
Council Rita Mercer?
I just have a clarification point that I didn't realize, being here all these years, that it's an 11 o'clock rule when it's a city council meeting, but during the budget time, you may recall, you did say it's the 10 o'clock rule, should we go beyond it? And I'm thinking, well, I didn't realize there were two different times. This way here, this vote and this motion makes it equal. 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I didn't know there was a difference. I always thought budget time was 11 o'clock too, but it isn't. It's 10, and so this just makes it unified to 10. You can always suspend the rules to go over the 10 o'clock rule, but it is that we need clarification if 2 votes to the negative kills that suspension, so...
So we're going to vote
Yes.
as presented?
Yes.
Council Lindsay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as the original maker of the motion, I just wanted to say, I think in the spirit of, and things have changed quite a bit since the original motion, but in the spirit of doing more with less, I just think it's probably a better idea now than it was at the time of the original motion, where it puts a burden on the administration to produce all of the literature for the packets from week to week. But I think I'm going to go down hard tonight, and I won't get into it too much.
I just would like to say before we take a vote that the council can expect the law department to come in with a report at the next meeting, because you can't believe how much work they have. And they're the ones who are going to be overburdened with bringing in the reports and so forth. So I just want to caution you that don't expect the report to come in a week's time, because I don't know how they do what all they do now. So just, the solicitor deserves a round of applause for all the hard work that the law department does. With that said, roll call.
Councilor Kazandrian?
Yes.
Councilor Lenzi?
No.
Councilor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Mayor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
I would ask if we could suspend the rules to bring in a petition from a gentleman whose car was damaged, and we won't have another meeting for 2 weeks. So move to suspend the rules by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Rita Mercia. All in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Suspensions are in order. This is a petition brought by George I. Gagan, 64 Lower Street. It's a property damage, and refer it to the
Move
law
to
department.
refer it to the law
Councilor
department.
Armin Mercia, seconded by Councilor Lindsay. Moving on with the motions. We're really moving along now.
Don't jinx us.
Motion by Councilor Lindsay. City Council requests a city manager report on how many local vendors and companies are receiving work from the Lowe's, Target, and other city projects, seconded by Councilor Kazandrian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have spoken with Adam Backey, and I think he was trying to gather some information regarding how many, if any, local vendors had received contracts from the Lowe's Target projects. So I think they were supposed to be awarded sometime in July, and I think that there were various companies and various people waiting to hear, and there wasn't too much information forthcoming. So I'd be interested to see how many contracts were awarded, if any, in those 2 projects.
Manager Lynch?
Counselor, I know that Mr. Bakey was looking to get some of that information. I guess you would run into him somewhere and asked him a similar question. And I know that he was, and I can't recall whether it was Lowe's or Target, he was waiting to hear from the contractor who the subcontractors were that received it. Those aren't public records, So we really are going to be dependent upon their willingness to provide that information, but we will certainly reach out to them and see what they can provide us with information on that.
So I guess the second question I would have is, if these large companies use their own companies each time they put up a Target or a Lowe's, you know, is it, even though they go out to bid, I'm sure that the bidders put in a lot of time doing their proposals and things, when maybe it's already a slam dunk for these companies that have probably done projects for these companies before. So I guess, I know I listened to Attorney Elide say, we will strongly urge these companies to use local vendors and local contractors. And I just wondered to what extent we did that, and was there any success rate? And if these companies indeed go with their own companies each time they build a building, you know, maybe we shouldn't be wasting the time of these other contractors either. So, you know, just a couple of things I'd be interested in getting a report on.
Manager?
Well, again, it's these, Council, when you referred to we, there's no city involvement in these. You know, if there's any public infrastructure aspects to these projects that the city may be involved with as an awarding authority, certainly we have that type of information. But if it's a Target or a Lowe's or any number of other businesses that choose to build in the city, they may say at a public meeting that they're going to urge, they're going to look for local vendors or local contractors to provide services. You know, it's difficult to enforce that, though, and in some cases, I would imagine they do have contractors that they've used before, and they have, those contractors may or may not be the lowest. They may have faith in the work that they're doing as opposed to someone else. There may be some economy of scale of using them on a variety of projects. You know, again, I'm not sure what motivates them in each and every case. I can tell you that the city hasn't been involved in the construction of Lowe's or Target, but we can certainly reach out to them and see if we can find out from them how many they actually use, just out of curiosity, to see what, so that contractors in the city would know moving forward, you know, what's the likelihood that we'll be picked. But certainly I would think that it makes sense for a Lowe's or a Target or one of these companies or their contractor, they choose an outside contractor, to actually use local contractors, because I would assume that the mobilization costs would be less to use someone from Lowell or the Lowell area, as opposed to reaching out into, you know, south of Boston to bring a particular contractor up.
Right, and that's what you'd like to think, that they would use some local contractors. I know that my own experience, that the movies that come in, they bring their own caterers from Hollywood and everything else, so it's not quite the economic boom that you might think it's going to be as things go forward. So this is kind of the same thing, and I would be curious to see how many local vendors or contractors receive work out of the projects.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Mr. Manager, you just mentioned the infrastructure, and you reminded me of something. I'm sure everybody here has gotten phone calls, complaints, I suppose. I have been getting quite a few complaints about the construction on Stevens Street and Chelmsford Street out that way, in terms of that, you know, I don't know if it's people don't realize what the schedule is, if there is a schedule, or if it is a bit of a mess. Or what's going on out there. So if we could maybe get a report, and then I don't know if it needs to go to subcommittee later, but it seems to be a lot of confusion out there and by the residents. I would hope the people that are working on it know what's going on, but it just seems that people don't realize when a street's going to be shut down or closed off, whether it's where they live or they travel to work from home. And if we could find out, you know, maybe what the schedule is out there and let people know, whether we post it on the website or if refer to a subcommittee later. Thank you.
Councilor Kuzanian?
Yeah, Councilor Broderick brings up a good point. Do we have a completion date on that Stevens Street's project?
I'm sure we do. I don't know. I don't know it though. Off the top
2
of my
weeks
head.
is going to be clear? 2 weeks?
In that time frame. Yeah.
Right.
My office received a call from a constituent in Lowell Catholic High School and so forth, and it's a huge project, and they're putting the main trunk line down Stevens Street, and then all the adapter lines are coming off onto the side street, so they have to more or less disturb the entire neighborhood to get this done. They did it on Chester Street, and when everything was said and done, they had a brand new paved street, and it has to be done. You can't get around it. So, Councilor Borden?
Mr. Mayor, that's a good point. It was done on Chelmsford Street, and there were some issues.
Right.
And I think once the council got involved and
Right.
people got the information, the situation settled down. I think it was, people have to, I mean, they have to accept it. We have to do it, and they're going to have a brand-new road, sidewalks, and, it's a great project, especially in these economic times. I think that it's just a matter of letting people know what's going on so they know what to expect and how to plan their travel in their day, whether they bring, school starts up shortly, whatever the situation is, just so people are aware of what's going on. Thank you.
Any other issues? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next
Mr.
motion.
Mayor?
Yes.
Before you get into the next motion, I believe we did have a claim other than the one that you suspended the rules for. We had a property damage claim. I just gave it to the clerk. We had it in our packet.
Refer that to the law office. I didn't have anything in front of me.
I know that.
Do you have that, Mr. Clark?
Move to refer that claim
To the law department.
Second.
Refer that claim to the law department
Thank
by
you.
Councilor Martin, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercy. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to the next motion, by Councilor Elliott. City Council requests the city manager have the city solicitor investigate the possibility of instituting a local ordinance banning the use, possession of marijuana on public property, seconded by Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This motion came about as a result of, I contacted the chief of police and the city manager's office regarding some complaints from the St. John Duck Basketball League over at Father McGuire Park. And thank you, Mr. Manager, and I did thank the superintendent of police. They have been vigilant in addressing the issues over there, primarily drug dealing and marijuana smoking. So as a result of communicating with the manager and the superintendent of police, it came to my attention that as a result of the decriminalization of marijuana, of the small amounts, there really is no ordinance prohibiting use in public parks. So I know the superintendent and a law department in your office has worked on this a little bit. I just wanted to bring it forward to let people know, because there was, one woman came up to me at the park and said, these kids were smoking and they blew, they were smoking marijuana and they literally blew it right in my face. So, similarly with public drinking or, other issues in the park, apparently the chief, the police officers are, their hands are tied. So I think this will go a long way to address these concerns and,
Yeah.
So, in any event, that's the gist of the motion, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager.
Mr. Manager?
Counselor, I think this is a good motion for us to respond to bring the council up to speed. It is something that the police superintendent and the law department have been working on. There are some other court cases pending that they're trying to watch to see how those unfold, so that when we come forward with the ordinance, it has all the teeth that we think are necessary. So we'll get you a report on this, and hopefully we'll be able to move forward with an ordinance at the very near future.
Thank you. I know there's a number of communities that have already adopted it, Methuen, a number of them, and I believe there's another 24 or so that are looking to enact these bylaws. So, but that's good to know about the pending challenge to this. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rather excellent motion, because I talked to the chief about this very motion myself, because I forgot that the voters voted to decriminalize under an ounce of marijuana. So technically, those people that are in parks and they're smoking in front of children or out on the sidewalk or whatever is similar to having a beer, taking a beer from a restaurant and walking down the street with a can of beer. It's not allowed, but there's no teeth to this particular issue, so you're bringing it forward. I did a little research too, and I have something from the Office of the Attorney General. He has prepared a sample public use bylaw, and I have this to refer to give to you. This would be no person shall smoke, ingest, or otherwise use or consume marijuana or that cannabis oil. I can't pronounce that technical term, but this is a very good issue, and the chief, of course, is highly in favor of this motion. So I think that it's important because right now there's no teeth to the law under an ounce of marijuana, that they can be issued a fine or a citation, but no enforceable power to this at all. And so this will add teeth to a particular law that's really not in place. So I think this is a very good motion. I'll give this to Christine
The chair would
O'Connor.
like to recognize Solicitor O'Connor.
I was just going to add, as the manager had indicated, the police department and the law department have been working, and there was a feeling at the time, because the city's curfew ordinance had been on appeal and we were awaiting a decision. But in light of some of the happenings, we can certainly take another look at this, and instead of waiting, revisit it and move forward, at least on this piece, to protect public parks.
Yes, that's good. Because right now, there's nothing in place, so there should be.
And there may be, and the intent is to look at a more, expansive ordinance down the road, but at least we could start with this while we're still awaiting the Supreme Judicial Court decision.
That's fine, thank you.
Council Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly, we should have the ability to enforce, what the state ballot initiative required. The thing that Councilor Rita Mercier is referring to, I think we all got. Someone in the health department sent a copy to all of us, and although I applaud the initiative of whoever sent that to us, I assume they saw the motion, sent us this proposed ordinance. But I think it's in some ways, kind of a backdoor of recriminalizing some of this activity. I think the important thing for us is to have something that's going to hold up in court and that gives the police the authority they need without subjecting us to more appeals, like with the curfew. So I'd be careful. I don't want to speak for the solicitor, but to start to reimpose criminal penalties that have been prohibited by state law is not what we want. We want something that's enforceable, so that we don't have the situations that we had over at Father Maguire Park.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. The next motion by Councilor Elliott, Councilor Rita Mercer, request manager have the police chief address crime activity problems on Middlesex Street, Appleton Street. Seconded by Councilor Broderick. Who'd like to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilor Mercer, you want to go first?
Oh, that's okay.
Well, again, I think we all received the email from young lady living down in that particular area, complaining about various crimes, one being sort of flagrant prostitution down there. So I know we've had problems in the past down there, so if we can increase patrols and address the situation, I'm sure the people down in that neighborhood that have invested in, in their properties would appreciate it.
Manager Lynch?
If Councilor Mercier
Rita
wants
Mercer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I filed this motion along with Councilor Elliott because I felt the frustration in the words of this resident's email when she expressed all the issues at hand, such as the prostitution, the excruciatingly loud perpetual noise, the sense that no one seemed to have been helping her with these issues, and I had the mayor's secretary/administrator forward her concerns to Chief LaValle as well, so that he was aware of this. And I'm sure that something will be done to correct the quality of life in this resident's immediate neighborhood. And I feel that no one should have to feel like they reached their last straw, as she puts it, in order for something to be done to alleviate the problems. No one should have to keep asking why, as this lady writes in her email, why isn't something being done to correct this? Why did I have to prove that what I knew to be true? Why must this person have been given this attitude to this caller, this writer? And I asked myself, why did it take this long to come before this council? Why did it even make it here in the first place? But now that we got it out in the light, I'm sure that this problem will be corrected, because I could feel her frustration, and I don't think anybody should have to be that despondent to, feel that way, so.
Mr. Manager?
If I may, Counselor, I certainly, and I know, I'm aware of that email, and I've seen, similar emails through the years from various locations, from various people, and sometimes people do reach a point of frustration, and I want to assure all the residents, and that resident in particular, and especially the residents in that neighborhood, that we do take their concerns and all of these concerns very seriously. Oftentimes there's more to these stories, and that's what needs to be looked at by the police department. I will say that when this motion first made it to the agenda and sort of preparing for this meeting, I did speak with the police department and asked specifically about an uptick. Have we seen an uptick? And they indicated to me that the numbers don't reflect that there has been an uptick. In fact, it's been dropping back. So. But I think, even if we have one problem, that's too many, and we need to be more vigilant, as always. So we'll follow up with this and get a report to the council and perhaps to the Public Safety Subcommittee.
I think prostitution is coming back in that area. I think it is, Mr. Manager. And if someone is coming to visit somebody's home and they're propositioned, that's rather embarrassing for the people that are new tenants down there. We're trying to rebuild that area, and I'm certainly sure if someone was going to your house, they wouldn't want to hear that they were propositioned, but be that as it may.
And again, the numbers don't show it, but certainly we'll look into it and get back to the council.
I know in the past, the police department has done a lot of sting issues with this issue, and a lot of people have been embarrassed by it. So I would imagine Police Chief LaValle is probably working on something to address this issue.
Most of the Johns are from out of town.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Well, we want to push them back out of town where they belong.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, the motion carries. The last motion of the evening, motion by Council Armor Mercia. Request manager update the City Council regarding the Arena University, seconded by Council Rita Mercia.
Based on what was discussed, it speaks for itself. My concern is that if we need to push somebody, let's face it, this was the Chancellor's idea to begin with, and so I think that whatever needs to be done should be done so that we don't get hit with that deficit beyond what we estimated. Simple as that.
All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, the motion carries. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I asked you before the meeting started, a person asked if I would just say this very briefly, that they have August flea markets coming at the Lowell Lodge of Elks on Old Ferry Road. The dates are 3 Sundays in a row, August 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. Sundays, 7 a.m. to 4, tables of $15, outside tables, 10, inside tables, 15. So if anybody's interested for the Lowell Lodge of Elks, you could look into that. That'd be great. Give them a call.
And before we adjourn, everyone has on their desk, save the date. Manager has it. The media has it. And the purpose of this save the date is Congresswoman Tsongas and I will be hosting a nice meeting at the Hall of Flags at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium from 5 to 7, Monday, August 17th. And the purpose of this is to organize and get people involved with the 2010 census. I can't thank enough Maria Kuna, Vaughn Ross, the Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, Diane Banowski in my office. We've been working hard with this, and we had 1,200 of these printed up, and as we speak, they're being delivered to churches, temples, stores, all through the entire city. And what happens if we don't get an accurate count in 2010? You could lose some serious federal funding. You could lose a congressional district. The federal funding, community development block grant funding, and roads, highways, and so forth. It's very important that all of us, not just this small committee, but all of us get involved to make sure that the 2010 census is counted, but counted right. And we want to stress to everyone in the city that this isn't big government looking over your shoulder. We just want to know how many people live in this city, and if we don't get that accurate count, we could pay severely for it. With that said, anything else to discuss tonight? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if we actually need a suspension regarding this, but we were all left a letter on our desk this evening regarding the issue over on Westview Road between the neighbors, and it seems to be escalating again. And I know, Mr. Manager, that the letter was addressed to you, and I just think that since we were all left a copy, it behooves us to get a report from your office as to what's going on and to get us an update.
Counselor, I'll get you a report on that. This is a matter that's in the law department's hands right now,
Right.
and it's been in the law department's hands before. It's been litigated before, and we will get you something
Okay.
on that.
Thank you.
Anything else said? Motion to adjourn by Council Broderick, seconded by Council Lindsay. Thank you.